Okay, welcome to the 2026 TSPLOST meeting. Let's go ahead and jump right in to a couple of things because we've got 6 presentations again today. And let's go ahead and get to last week's minutes. Do I have anyone who had a chance to review? Do I have anyone that would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. And second. All in favor?
Aye.
Who was the second?
Isabel and Carrie.
So today, again, I brought my computer. It helps me. There are a lot of notes on these, not on the presentations, but on the submissions. So it's good to always have that and review. If you don't have your laptop and you haven't done that already, it's all, you go back and do it. And it helps me make sense of a lot of things that we do here, what the staff has said, and how we can compare to that. We'll get into some other chair business and meeting business after the presentations like we always do. But for now, does anyone have any questions or anything before we get started with the presentations? All right, Derek, come on up. And I do want to remind the presenters and the audience, once the questions are for us to ask, and we don't take questions from, but you're welcome to listen. If you are part of a presentation, you may go up there and speak.
Alex, what's the roll call?
Oh, yeah, let's do roll call. Where is the?
Here it is.
Okay. All right, so Carrie Rivers.
Yes, sir.
Randy Holstead. Here. Holstead, sorry. Jeb Bradbury.
Here.
John Kopic. Daryl McManus. Daryl not here, sorry. Okay, Carl Blunt, not here yet. He usually comes a little later. William Reading. And Stephen Wright is feeling ill. Brian Gomez. Here. Isabel Scott.
Here.
Nell Warren. Here. Kristen Morales.
Yes.
Shawanda Johnson.
Here.
And Todd Levitt. And Rick.
Here.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Beresford, and I am here representing the 5 Points Intersections TSPLOST 2023 user group and the Friends of 5 Points neighborhood organization. We started this work on this intersection in 2018 and submitted a 2020 SPLOST proposal. Did not get chosen as one of the projects, submitted again to the SPLOST 2023 list, and we were selected and were, as you guys probably all are going to be experiencing, we got a lot less than we needed, but still $1.5 million is nothing to sneeze at. The user group started to meet this past year and approached me at the end of the fall and asked if I would again submit an application to have this project included so that they get some more funding to improve the intersection. So the goal of the project is to enhance the safety, accessibility, and functionality of the 5 Points intersection for all users. The reason why we've chosen to focus on this intersection is it's a critical transportation hub in Athens. It serves not only people who live in Athens, but also commuters and visitors from around the region. Everybody knows this intersection. Everybody uses this intersection. It's one of Athens' most walkable and multimodal hubs, and it serves a dynamic mix of pedestrians, cyclists, and transit riders. It also serves as a gateway that connects Athenians and visitors to the downtown UGA. So I guess go forward a couple more to key challenges. Okay, so some of the key challenges of this intersection, there are serious safety concerns, frequent accidents, many near misses, nearby schools, close proximity to UGA, and a high UGA student driver volume. It has problematic intersection geometry. As we all know, it has extra long crosswalks, irregular property layouts, driveways and curb cuts inside the intersection, and this makes it congested. And finally, there are multimodal conflicts. The current design does not adequately support safe and efficient movement for everybody. So the reason that the user group approached me about getting more money for this project is, as I explained, they got $1.5 million, which, as you all know, in the traffic and transportation projects world is not a lot to do something transformative with. So rather than implementing temporary fixes or Band-Aid solutions, this proposal seeks to deliver longer-term, higher impact improvements to fully address the safety and mobility concerns of the intersection. I acknowledge that the budget is huge. The staff that we work with gave me a budget for basically the most expensive solution. In other words, they don't know what the solution is for this intersection, and they need more time. The user group needs more time, staff needs more time to figure out what the solutions are. So what I would say is any additional funding would be appreciated. And if the Cadillac sort of version of the improvements is not what the funding will support, then it's not what the funding will support. But there's not, you can't do as much as I think they want to do with the one again. Okay, next one. So I even hesitate sometimes to get specific about the design solutions because I don't want people to focus too much on what those are because we don't know exactly what they'll be. But these are some of the ideas. There could be a peanut style roundabout option if we were able to, relocation of crosswalks, conversion of strained poles to mast arms, upgrade the ramps to meet accessibility standards, create pedestrian refuge areas, adjust the curb radii, and update the signal control and timing. So those are just kind of some ideas. Okay. And so the bigger picture, we're going to do a little more. The bigger picture is that 5-pointed intersections, like if you Google that, you will see cities all over the country that are trying to come up with solutions. These intersections weren't planned. They were never designed to be 5-pointed intersections. It has to do with history and development patterns, and they're notoriously challenging. I put an example here of some work that caught my eye in Raleigh, and I looked at they had a really interesting sort of citizen engagement process and coming up with solutions for a 5-point intersection in Raleigh. The ACC Department of Transportation and Public Works has identified this intersection as a priority safety concern. So we know that it's not just a perception, it's actually something that people who think about this for a living believe needs to be fixed. It also aligns with the Athens in Motion plan and some of the larger goals that the community has identified for itself. Finally, so this project meets TSPLOST goals by supporting and promoting healthy lifestyles. It enhances walking, biking, and active transportation safety at a key intersection, reduces pedestrian and car conflict points, and creates inviting public spaces that encourage social interaction and support physical and physiological well-being. It establishes a safe and welcoming sense of arrival at a major Athens gateway, enhances the aesthetic appeal and pedestrian-friendly design, and fosters a stronger community identity. It also creates an inclusive and accessible environment for residents, visitors, and commuters, and improves safety across all transportation modes. So in conclusion, a safer, more vibrant, and accessible 5 points intersection will enhance the daily experience for everybody who lives, works, and travels through Athens. By investing in long-term safety improvement, the project supports Athens' shared vision of stronger neighborhoods, increased public safety, equitable transportation access, healthier, more active lifestyles, and expanded transportation options. We think 5 points is a vital community node, and this investment will ensure it serves Athens well for decades to come. That's it. Yep.
So it's a great thing trying to improve 5 points. Definitely very good. And one thing I'm curious about is with the 1.5 million that y'all have gotten, is there a reason that hasn't been used to this point to prepare like more designs, or will it in the future?
I think my understanding is there's been a bit of reticence to spend money. SPLOST projects have to be primarily capital projects. And so I think that they haven't wanted to, I think that they haven't spent it until they know what they want to do, and they don't just want to dribble out some bits of it without having a bigger plan.
So the 1.5 million can't be used to do like an in-depth study that could later be used.
It has to,
Apply for more funding.
it has to directly relate, you all might be able to correct me if I'm wrong with this. It has to very directly relate to the capital project. So you can do feasibility and design work. I think they want to be further along in the process before they do that, because that could eat up a lot of money. And so if there's only ever going to be 1.5 million to do the improvements, they don't want to spend a big chunk of it doing feasibility for improvements that there's no budget for, if that makes sense.
Are there other identified sources of potential funding in the future to like the state government or anything like that that might help?
There was a conversation about applying directly to GDOT for funding, but I don't know the status of those requests.
Sir, I've got a couple of things. I travel that route every day. And it's a very unique intersection, as you said. I mean, you've got a combination of a fire station, a restaurant, retail, and going down Millage, is it Circle? No, you've got residential.
Right, and a gas station.
Huh?
And a gas station.
And a gas station, correct. We've all been caught probably at all 5 intersections. And I don't know what the cost is or what you figured or what they helped you figure, but I would think that any kind of construction, especially a $9.7 million construction project, is going to do it in stages or whatever. That intersection is already horrific. And with construction, it's just going to be like a nightmare.
Yeah.
The lights, the changing of the lights. I mean, I've been driving that thing for 10 years, and it just seems like those lights are so long, and they could be so much shorter. And, you know, when the UGA buses come up Lumpkin and take a right there, you know, they never can make it. They're on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Turning right onto Millage.
That's right.
So, and I know you've got I know this is maybe arbitrary, but you've got almost $1 million cost in land acquisition.
Yes.
That may or may not be the right number, but I agree with Isabel. I think it's a very, very critical intersection. Obviously, 2 months out of the year, it's pretty passable.
Yeah.
But the rest of the year, it's not. So, yeah, I think the way the lights change, it's got to be something that y'all would really look at. I just don't, and I'm not a construction guy. I just don't know. I don't know how you're going to do it.
Right. And I don't have an answer to that question. It would be super disruptive and they'd have to figure something out. Yeah, you're right.
You stated in the 2023, that didn't give you all you asked for. How much did you ask for at that time?
No, right when I said that, I knew someone was going to ask that question, and I actually,
I'll look it up.
okay, yeah, I can't remember. At the time, I guess one thing I should point out is at the time that we made that request and the 2020 request, there were a lot of things that were off the table and in terms of solutions. So I was really surprised when the user group and staff got back to me in the fall that there were a bunch of things that they were talking about that basically when we were talking about that a few years ago, they were like, nope, can't happen. GDOT road can't happen. And I don't know what changed. I don't know if it's leadership, staff, GDOT being more open to that. I don't know what it is, but I was thrilled because I think some of the things that could happen, we basically were getting those. And so I can't remember exactly how the budget reflected that.
So if you got that amount that you're requesting now, that will solve the problem. Question.
Yeah, I think, yes.
Okay.
And that number, I think, Liam, to that $9 million number, 9.7, a lot of it came from the county staff, right? Like they helped you build this.
Yeah, They built that and then staff did their technical review and I think
Of that.
And that was kind of their high number, is that right?
yes,
Okay,
that's my understanding.
things could be improved. Do you think, I had their hand up, but, go ahead.
You're kind of answering my question though, which was what's asked for. You mentioned the Cadillac of designs. So this is like if you wanted a fancy keynote with a lot of land acquisition, a lot of engineering.
I think so,
That
yeah.
might not be the best solution.
That's right. And we do believe that land acquisition will be critical for many of the solutions, and we think we can get some of that land at the corner of where the gas station is. That's where that number comes from, but yeah. And I can't even say that I think a roundabout's the best. Like I refer to it as a Cadillac mostly because it's the most expensive, not because we are clear that that's the best.
Yeah, I think this is a great project. I would recommend if it's possible, it's to use the money that you have gotten, the part of it that you use towards design to do further design work and come with like a solid proposal. Because if this is a project with a solid proposal of like, this is what we're gonna do, this is how much it costs, I feel like it's a no-brainer. But I think it's more hard to choose at a point where it's just kind of a bucket of money that may or may not fulfill the needs and even be attainable with energy goggles and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll offer just some quick commentary. So first to your question, 3.3 million is what the original submission was in 2023. Does that sound familiar? And the guidance we've gotten as well on using TSPLOST for planning or that sort of design work. Certainly it's eligible, but it can't be only that. It's got to also be tied to a capital expenditure. So the type of planning that you're talking about is eligible, but the 2023 project has to also include some capital.
I'll also add just for our discussion as well and you to hear. The most dangerous part of that, intersection, if you're on Millage going toward Macon Highway, you're taking a right onto Lumpkin and you go 50, 60 feet, I don't know how far, and that little crosswalk, they have the right of way. And I learned that by getting mad at somebody walking right out in front of me. I didn't do anything, but I just was like, what are you, crazy? And then I looked and they had, they had the walking person or the hand or whatever it is.
All right.
They had the right of way. And it, okay.
You're talking about the mid-block crossing.
Yeah.
It's on down there.
Yeah, going on to Lumpkin, and that's just kind of for us to kind of hear, and we got it on record now. That right there needs to get fixed, because that's going to be everything. Okay, we're done with time, and thank you, Sarah, and we'll get questions to you as they come about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm the Sustainability Department Director for Athens-Clarke County Unified Government. I want to bring to you tonight our Connecting North Athens Sustainably. It is the product of 4 different departments. So we came together and envisioned this project, the 4 of us. It's Transportation and Public Works, Leisure Services, my office, and Transit. And Transit's here tonight to also answer any of those questions that go with it. Victor Pope, Jeremy Barnett, and Tina Wu. I got them all. Sorry, guys. It's terrible when you're looking at one person and thinking somebody else's name. I would like for you to think of this project as filling in the middle. That's one of the things that this project's bringing to this. You'll see is a little bit different than the others. It's looking at how we fill the middle by creating a comprehensive transportation system that connects existing resources, connects people and working families to those. If you'll notice, all right, there we go, I got it. So I'd like to start real quickly with an overview of what are the existing resources that we're looking at. These resources go up North Avenue, that's right here. It has the RAISE grant in this section right here where they're upgrading and adding bike lanes and pedestrian safety features to that lane. You've got the bus routes, that's the green.
You notice they have this web right through here. We've got Dollar General, Department of Labor, we've got a laundromats, pharmacy, grocery store. There's a lot of resources on North Avenue that's available. The other resource we have is over here, and this is the North Oconee River Greenway that goes up, and this is the 441 corridor. Notice what's missing in the middle. So what this project looks to do with all of these neighborhoods here, these are working folks working hard, we don't have a lot of options other than vehicles. And we're trying to blend that together and create that bridge between them. So the first thing we looked at, this is where North Avenue and Freeman Drive are, just beyond the 10 loop to get you oriented. We're looking at a bike lane that goes along Bowley Drive. If you've ever been along 441, can you imagine a bicyclist or walker on that one? We could go down and go underneath the 441 bridge here, come back up behind the businesses. These are all land that the county already owns. It links up to the North Oconee River Greenway. Then going further up, we're going to build another segment. This would build another segment all the way over to North Bluff into these houses here in this neighborhood, these neighborhoods right here next to commercial, along Highway Commercial. Of critical importance is something that does not exist at this point. It's going to be that light right there that we're proposing to put in on US 441. I want to take you, if you haven't been along this route, this is what you'll see. So this is right here where Freeman gets ready, goes down, it turns, you know how it is in Athens, you got to rename the road no matter where it goes, at least 2 or 3 times before you get there. So this is Freeman Drive. At the very end right here is Bowley. Wrong direction. Oop. And there's Bowley Drive. So you're looking down Bowley this way. You keep going. So we're going to hit down here where the intersection is at 441. And that's what that looks like. It's 5 lanes. So 4 lanes in here turns into 5. No, this is 5 lanes through here. Turns 4 lanes out by Sandy Creek Park. Now we're going to go down to where it looks like at the bridge. So they have 6 lanes across there through here with a turn lane. And this is the bridge. We got to go down and under. And then that puts us up here. We'll go down, under, come back up. So this is already in existence. We'll go to right here at the intersection of Sandy Creek. This is Sandy Creek Drive and Old Commerce. If you've ever tried to get out on 441 from here, it's a challenge. What this intersection looks like, a whole lot more open and nice to look at and walk. And this is the 441 North Avenue area, North Bluff area, I'm sorry. Right through here. So this is a mess. And you wouldn't even, this is kind of like Frogger if you've ever played that game. This is what it looks like looking north toward Commerce right through here. So we're asking people in this neighborhood over here, and there's, I want to say 200 or 300. These are duplexes over in that area. We're asking them to cross that road to have access to any of these amenities. We're looking at not only having the roads right through here, we're talking about adding a pedestrian safety zone. So you do what they call islands out in the middle, a refuge out here with a light, and also looking at these improvements. So the amount of money that you see is involved in really revamping this whole intersection to try to make it so that it does feel safe and available to the folks who are going from North Bluff across to the Nature Center. In addition to this, we also have proposed in this area somewhere, parking lot or a parking lot area. Because for the Greenway, they're overflowed. If you've ever overflowing, if you've ever been to the Nature Center on a nice, pretty weekend, you can't find a parking space as it is. It was never actually designed for this level of use. And also, we want to try to catch the pedestrian traffic, the vehicular traffic coming down 441, and shunt it into this area and provide parking. And then you could ride your bike to school, to work or to play. The other thing that's a little bit different and what weaves this, brings this all together. Well, that's my next statement, I guess. This is the service area. So we're a quarter mile out. This is all the areas that would be served, all the neighborhoods in here, neighborhoods around in here. So we have a lot of neighborhoods that would be served by this project. What weaves this together is our micro transit proposal. So you would be able, instead of having walking or biking, now we have transit as a possibility. So you would be able to make a call if you were in North Bluff, and you would be able to ask for them to come pick you up. They'd set a time. They'd drive you over to the bus route right here. So you would then link up with the buses that would take you downtown and all through this area here, or you can pick up others by going to multimodal and link throughout the entire system that direction. So that's what and then when you want to return, you would just simply call, make the arrangements, they drop you off at that bus station somewhere up in here. Then you would be able to be picked up by the micro transit and carried to your destination over here. So that's how micro transit works. What this does is then creates that kind of unified opportunity. So you want to go in and you want to ride a bike into work and it's raining. When you come home, now you have a way to get home without getting wet, or vice versa. So you can exercise, you can get to work, you can get to the amenities on North Avenue. So we feel like what we've done as a group is we blended all of this together and created an opportunity for the working families to be able to get to where they want with multiple choices. The project budget is coming in, if you notice, just the building part of it, which is construction, land, equipment, that type of thing is right at 9 million, 9.6, but you do add contingency design and all of those fees and you're up to about 16 million, $16.1 million. We hit a lot of strategic goals in the community with this project. The good neighbors, where we're talking about making driving and promoting healthy lifestyles, safely moving around Athens because we filled in the gap, looking at expanding multimodal and providing safe travel for people. And this also fits in with our 100% clean and renewable energy solutions. These projects also, and let me go back to this very beginning one, because I want to show you that it also here, by filling in the middle, we had another project that was number 44, which is the Newton Bridge Road Bike. You'll see that one coming up next. This also fills in the middle for the North Avenue 10 loop. So when they cross here with project 57, that's going to fill in that gap right there with this project. And then project 65, which linked Barber Street over to the North Oconee River Greenway. So all of these together, again, not only does it fill in the middle, but it builds and allows others to feed to this bridge. And that's when I have questions. Yes.
That dotted yellow line right there goes across the bypass?
It goes to the bypass right now, and project 57 puts the pedestrian aspect on that. So this, with the raised grant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little confused because across the bridge there, it appears in your deal that you're going across with that dotted yellow line, that's already in the works.
That's my understanding, but I don't know if they have the money to complete that across the bridge. Raised grant did get $25 million. They ran into some real issues, I believe, with design. This was the original plan for the raised grant, but I understand that they may or may not be able to make that distance. Do you have any information, Josh, on how far they are? Okay. So either way, we looked at it as either being able to connect with their project 57. We did consider the fact of whether they did fail on that and were not able to complete it. But what we do know is they can get to the bus line. So by building this bridge between these two major assets, they can at least get to the bus line, and then that can get them safely across if they need to. And all the buses are equipped with bicycle racks on the front, as will the micro transit buses be as well. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the transit part of your presentation, what do you call the microburst, taking somebody from one point to the bus? What do you call that?
Micro transit?
Micro transit.
Yes.
Is that going to, I didn't see any vehicles in this budget. Are you using existing vehicles?
There were, we proposed 3 micro transit. I didn't call them out specifically. That's under the equipment. So they're oversized. And if Nick, you want to give a little bit more of our team?
Right, y'all got to hear from me last week, and so we'll bounce back to that conversation a little bit. We talked about, oh yes, absolutely. So last week we talked about picking out vehicles that were right sized for the service. This is part of that type of exercise where we're looking for Smaller vehicles like you may have seen the E350 Ford Transit vans. That's the type of vehicle that would be utilized in the microtransit service. Something that's able to go along the smaller neighborhood streets and but also has the capacity to pick up multiple people for efficiency purposes. We would be, of course, looking at EV vehicles. There are EV E350s out there, and actually we're in the process of acquiring a couple of them for our services currently.
And those vehicles were in your presentation last week?
Yes, sir.
Cost of those?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Able to carry somebody in a wheelchair.
Yes, absolutely. They would be required to be ADA accessible. Also, another point not to sort of steal your thunder, but one of the advantages of microtransit situation in this zone is that there's a lack of pedestrian infrastructure along 441. If you were to say operate a fixed route along the 441 corridor, you have the potential to drop someone off in, say, a mobility device where there is no sidewalk. So essentially that person's now stuck where they are, or they're forced to travel in the roadway. And we all know how they drive on 441. Like Mike mentioned, Frogger, end up like him with the, so, we want to keep our residents out of fancy footwear like Mike and that's him primarily.
I recommend this.
Yes.
But this, and you might not know this yet if it's in design work, but do you know if this would be
I'm sorry.
along Boley Drive or however it's pronounced, would that entail like basically bike lanes on the road or like a greenway extension that is along basically a multi-use path?
So the way that the Athens-Clarke County categorizes it, if it is a path along a road, next to a road is considered a bike path. Once it enters into the woods, it's a greenway. They're both the same thing. So it would be a bike path along Boley Drive is what we envision.
Yes, sir. I had two questions. Could you advance the slides? And I'll tell you which one to stop. Right, go back. Where is that again?
So this one, if you look right here, this is Freeman. We're kind of looking across this direction. You came off of North Avenue and you're turning this direction to go this way. And this is Boley down here. So it's the same road. It just takes a real.
Max Pants, continue.
Okay.
So that's at Collins Industrial in the Stop and Go gas station.
Yes.
Keep going. Oh, no, go back. Go back to right there. Now,
That's about right here on the map.
okay, and what are you proposing there? Bike lane?
Bike lanes.
Okay, at the end of that road, you take a right and go towards Sandy Creek.
That's correct.
Were you thinking of putting a red light there?
We did consider it now because it's GDOT and GDOT will let you put a light on there if you pay for it. It's about $350,000 plus amenities or whatever you add to that. That is an option that we have. And let me look at that because what we were concerned with here, trying to bring it across is line of sight. People go great. They go really fast through here. And the goal would have been wherever we could is to just literally not have people have to cross and limit that.
All right, let's
Full
time.
speed. And I'll get with you on the other time.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
And if you want this fancy footgear, just let me know.
It'll be for sale in the back, all proceeds go to our TSPLOST.
And we're shameless.
Hey, get him the autograph, and then you may be able to up the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call him Mike.
I guess. Brenson.
Good evening. We are here to talk about the project number 44. This is a Commerce Road and Newton Bridge Road loop bus route. Next slide. So our project goals, the Commerce Road and Newton Bridge loop bus route proposes an approximate 11-mile loop beginning at the Multimodal Center downtown Athens and looping along Commerce Road and Newton Bridge Road, providing free transit to public parks, essential public services, growing attainable housing market, and access to vital small businesses, including covered bus stops, crosswalks, and other pedestrian improvements. So we have two project sponsors tonight, members of the District 9 community and also the Athens Clinic. Next slide. So I brought Allie with me tonight. She manages the Athens Clinic, and I'd like to give her an opportunity to introduce herself and tell you guys a little more about the clinic.
Sure. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Allie. I'm co-owner of Athens Clinic. We've been operating in Athens for about 25 years, and we serve people with opioid use disorder. So for those of you who don't know, this is medication-assisted treatment for people who have dependence on fentanyl, opioids, prescription pain medication. And so we see a total of 400 patients. We're very, very busy. Our main goal is to basically keep people alive, provide them these supportive services that they really, really need. Not only do we see our patients, but we have services for the greater community too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Narcan, but it's an opioid reversal drug. So this will actually save somebody's life if they are overdosing. We do know that people are dying at record rates, and we have this available outside our building 24 hours a day for free. So anybody can come, and we have a free vending machine. They can get access to this. But I've been trying to get services, transportation services out to us for about 25 years. And so we really hope that this is the time. We have a lot of people that don't have transportation. We work closely with a lot of recovery residences. We have two ladies from one of our biggest supporters, Divergent Recovery Center now, and they provide a ton of services. But when their women are first admitted, they're not allowed driving privileges. So they have no way to get the services that they need. So we're really hoping that we can extend it just a little bit past. We know we have a lot of neighborhoods right by us, but that's a little bit about what we do.
That is perfect. Thank you. All right, next slide. So our proposed bus route, like we discussed, would start at the Multimodal Center. It would loop around Commerce Road, come back along Newton Bridge Road, and run that continuous loop. This loop would serve the Athens Clinic, Hidden Pines Homes, North Bluff that Mike mentioned earlier, the Santa Creek Nature Center, Santa Creek Park. It also would provide access to the J&J Flea Market, New Covenant, Holland Park, the Food Bank of Northeast Georgia, and other planned residential developments along the corridor. Next slide. So we reached out to a couple of partners, community partners, and I wanted to share some support from a letter of support from Advantage Behavioral Health. Next slide. From the Western Judicial Circuit, from Divergent, they're in the room today. Next slide. And from New Covenant Church. So this project selection goals, this meets goal area number 1, good neighbors. We're driving community transformation with a focus on creating spaces that are respectful and welcoming. And we're supporting and promoting healthy lifestyles, moving, eating, forming healthy relationships, physical and psychological care. Next slide. So this project meets goal area number 5, safely moving around Athens. So this is reducing auto dependency and providing mobility for residents. This is creating a more usable and aesthetic corridor and connections between residential and commercial areas. And this enhances safety for all modes of transportation. Next slide. And goal area number 6, our built and natural infrastructure. This is a well-planned infrastructure that's consistent with the framework of the future land use. This ensures equitable access to critical infrastructure. And this provides adequate funding for the maintenance of existing and newly constructed infrastructure. This follows through on a commitment to 100% clean and renewable energy resolution. The buses would be electric, EV, and this addresses ecosystem infrastructure sustainability and resiliency. Next slide. Okay, yeah, it's done. So that would be a great opportunity for questions. Yes, ma'am, Kristen.
What
public transportation options are available, I don't know if our bus guys still here, up 441 now.
Can we go back a couple of slides to the route? Here. So there is no bus route along 441. The furthest it comes is right into Root Street. Or okay.
Yeah, we've had people have to walk from downtown down 441.
Where there's no signs.
Yeah.
Isabel?
Yeah, in my experience, like riding the buses for having my car, it was like that felt like the one significant missing in Athens was the 441 corridor. And getting to Sandy Creek Park too. I have two questions for you. First is the map that you have, it showed a connection or a stop near Sandy Creek Park, but it's still considerably far from the actual entrance to Sandy Creek Park. So would there be ways to get in there, especially for people who can't walk that far or whatever else? And then also, have you, like, I mean, as a kind of bus stop project, it's kind of rare to see these in TSPLOST. Are there any other identified sources of funding for like new bus routes? And is there any viability, like, what is the process for transit department in establishing new routes like this in terms of using their own capital?
Yeah, so your first question, that's the connection to Sandy Creek Park. You told me you wanted us to run a leg down the right. There's no reason why that bus route couldn't circle down by the park, come around back out. That'd just be part of the loop. If that was what folks decided. The second question was about funding, individual funding outside of TSPLOST, I believe, or SPLOST funding that would come from transit system alone. Did I understand that correctly? So the transit system has a very little, and Vic's not in the room, but I'll speak a little bit about it. The transit system has very little capital to operate for themselves, and most of their funding comes from other federal and state. Is that fair to say? That answer that?
Yes, sir. Out of your drawing there, that's Newton Bridge, correct?
Yes, sir. This is Newton Bridge.
Now, that has a bus route, correct?
It has a bus route that goes up to Vincent Drive.
Wouldn't it be easy to continue around the top, come back down, Commerce?
It loops the other way. It turns.
Okay, I understand that. You just explained it, but I'm asking, once it goes there, could it not, instead of coming back down, could it go up and then come back down?
I think it could, right? Look, our goal is to get transit to the Athens-Clarke, and there's opportunities to serve a lot of other folks too. And however that route is ultimately mapped, I think that's okay as long as it serves the need of the clinic.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. The Athens-Clarke, you said that you serve around 400 people? Is that a year or a month, a day or
Okay.
a day? That makes a little difference.
Brian and then Kristen.
One of the challenging trade-offs is always you increase access and frequency is always a consideration. And so with ACC Gov's current resources, what would anticipated frequency on this route look like? Do you have an idea or?
Once an hour. Yep. I mean, serving 400 folks a day, that's a lot of trips. Yep. Kristen?
Well, and I was just curious, when planning a route, what kind of conversations do you have with ACC Transit as far as like what's planned, like how does this dovetail into what they might have or not have planned?
Sure. So we did have a conversation with Vic and his team about this project. This is not that dissimilar from what they presented to you guys just before this. So ultimately, the transit department would have say over the final route where the bus stops are, and there's some other funding and other elements to that decision-making process. The key here is providing transit opportunities for the clinic and how those bus routes and bus stops happen. I think we're open. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we also, in our parking lot, I forgot to mention this earlier, we share a parking lot with the Hispanic Tax Service. So they serve a huge Latino community in our area too. They do immigration services, translation, tax, so it wouldn't be just us. There's so much right there in that little area.
Yes, sir.
What specifically are we being asked to pay for here?
bus shelters and
A bus?
Yes, new buses,
New buses.
and bus shelters. And then there's naturally going to be some pedestrian improvements associated with those bus stops. We don't want to just put a bus stop there, no way to get across the ditch. There may be some crosswalks that are associated with this, some other small items. Great question.
How would people cross 441 get to the bus stop, depending on?
Yeah, so I'm envisioning the bus route going north along Commerce Road and then coming south along Newton. The majority of the bus stops, if not all of them, would be on the right side of the road, so you wouldn't have to cross the road. Same on Newton, most of the development is on the west side of Newton. Limits your pedestrian crossings.
And also just for my reference on the map, because it's smaller than the last one, because I really loved in the last proposal, the idea about the traffic light where that little road that comes out of Sandy Creek and meets back up with 441. I'm forgetting what that name is.
Old
but-
Commerce Road.
Old Commerce Road, yes. And so is that, like, it's kind of where those stops are marked on the map, right?
Yeah, that's
Where Athens-Clarke is.
right in here.
Yeah, that having a traffic light there too would be key. So this is interesting.
There have been some fatalities there.
Yeah.
I would not object to seeing that at all.
Yeah, and maybe the solution too is either a traffic signal or a pedestrian beacon. We've done those before too. Yeah, any other questions?
If I could point out, there's some staff notes that I would say pay attention to, both in the previous submission and this one as well, that I think will be helpful in evaluating this.
Anybody else? All right, thank you all.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Elaine. I got another one. So this is project number 45, Danielsville Road area-wide drainage improvements. This project is sponsored, that's okay. So this project is sponsored by citizens of District 9. The project cost is about $4.8 million. So the goal of this project is to provide necessary improvements to storm drains, inlets, pipes, and culverts within the public right-of-way and/or private properties directly impacted by adverse stormwater runoff and erosion downstream of public streets and right-of-way. This proposed project would fund those improvements that address adverse draining conditions within the West Trail Creek and Sandy Creek drainage basin north of Loop 10. The project may include replacement of existing drain pipes, inlets, outlets, swells, ditches, and culverts, and include drainage improvements within private property that are impacted by runoff from public streets and public rights of way and public facilities. This project is intended to fund the collection of data, citizen input, so that we can evaluate and prioritize those stormwater maintenance and improvements as these funds allow for. And where improvements are required outside of the public right of way, the adjoining property owner would be required to grant permanent and temporary easements at no cost to the government for those specific improvements. Slide. So kind of give you an idea of what's going on in North Athens here. So you can see the drainage issues. Often there's a lack of appropriate shoulder along the road. You can see this very deep ditch. There's about a 2-foot shoulder. And so this current condition requires constant maintenance by transportation and public works. You can see that they're going back, adding more riprap, putting Band-Aids over the issue when it really just needs to be solved for good. Next slide. So here's another example of where you have an unsafe culvert condition. So again, no shoulder, the car runs off the road, they end up in the ditch, in the swell. This needs curb and gutter. It needs appropriate urban storm systems probably needs some guardrail. Next slide. Here's another example of where there is a lack of curb and gutter. The existing storm drains are not appropriately sized. There's not adequate inlets. And this project here is an improvement by our Public Works Department. They're attempting to solve a drainage problem, but they simply don't have the funds to continue to maintain these problems over and over and over again. So we want to fix it right, fix it good. Next slide. So why is this project important? So we want to be good neighbors. This drives community transformation. Danielsville Road serves as a primary corridor for both residents and visitors along its route. There are numerous locations along the corridor and within adjoining neighborhoods that have become eroded due to poorly managed and or maintained drainage conditions. And this project intends to address those issues. Goal 5, safely move around Athens. So we want to make sure that we're providing adequate funding for maintenance of existing and newly constructed infrastructure. Currently, there are just not enough funds to provide adequate stormwater maintenance and repair. This project intends to fund the maintenance and repair of existing storm drains, inlet swells, culverts, etc. Next slide. And in goal area number 6, this does address ecosystem health, infrastructure, sustainability, and resilience. Historical approaches to drainage systems and stormwater calculations combined with continued climate change have rendered many of our communities' older drainage facilities inadequate and less resilient. This project proposes to replace aging and inadequate drainage facilities with more sustainable and resilient material, updated hydrology, hydraulics, investment practices to mitigate impacts of stormwater runoff to residential properties. All right. Yes, sir.
One thing that concerns me in looking at the cost.
Yep.
And looking at this overall, as project sponsors, District 9 citizens, noticing in land acquisition. And then I listened to you where improvements are required outside the public right of way. The adjourning property owner must grant all permanent and temporary easement at no cost to the government for specific improvement. And I've looked at all of those I could look at and listen to you as well. Could you explain that part for me?
Yeah, so we anticipate a scenario where water is running off from the public right of way. It's encroaching onto someone else's property. If you come in here and say, well, I want you to fix my drainage problem, but I want you to pay me $100,000 for the easement. Well, that's counterintuitive. So we'd like to spend that money on the infrastructure cost and not getting the acquisition of the land. Does that make?
That makes sense, but it kind of has a smell to it, but I'm gonna listen to you and talk with you in general before I reach that conclusion, because I had that problem once and I got a shovel and dug it out. And it changed the direction. So, and I just looked at the other one because when you're saying taking someone's property.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting we take someone's property without their permission. I am suggesting that, no, I'm not. I am suggesting that if you have a drainage problem on your property, right? And because of runoff from upstream properties or the public right of way, that you'd be gracious enough if someone's willing to fix that problem, not to charge them for the easements.
Okay, we'll be going back and forth.
Okay.
Stanley, we'll talk.
Yeah,
We'll talk.
yeah.
They'll still own the property.
Please don't do that to me again, please.
Sorry.
Okay. I understand I'm a little bit more intelligent than you give me credit for. Boy, no, you've done it about 10 times.
All right, any other questions? I do have just a quick, all right, on staff comments in the, mission, this is similar, staff saying that this is similar to the pre-designated project that the, I guess, mayor and commissioner staff have put aside out of that 140,000 million. The, for the stream pipe replacement. So But this is specific, correct, to this
That's right.
because you know it's not gonna be part of that or
Yeah, so
case, or how does that overlap?
So, yeah, that's a great question. So the project that staff had proposed and is pre-funded, if I'm saying that correctly, pre-committed, that replaces stream crossings. So you got corrugated metal pipes and things of that nature that are specific to live streams. In this project, we're not specifically talking about live streams. Some of these may be culverts. The photo I showed you guys earlier in the slide, that's not a live stream. It just happened to be raining when we took the photo. So this would correct other culverts and drainage issues unrelated to live stream
Runoff.
or runoff. That's right. Mhm.
If I could add to that, I think it would be helpful. So yes, Transportation and Public Works has a list of the culverts. So as you said, their infrastructure that's under the road that is either classified as failed or as critical. And that pre-designated list only funds enough for, I think I'm looking at 14 different ones here. There's 14 different ones that are specifically identified that have either already failed or are critical. And so that leaves open the possibility that there are a lot of other opportunities for stormwater infrastructure. That pre-designated list is very limited. It's critical and failed culverts, live stream pipe replacement that they're looking at there.
And if I may add, I mean, I think the members of this part of the community in District 9 feel that they have been underserved when it comes to stormwater. And so that's one of the reasons why they are specifically asking for their pot of money to address their drainage issues in their district.
So is this a particular section of Danielsville Road, or are there certain hotspots that we know of along the entire length? And it's pretty long, so.
Yeah, we suggested it be in the basins. So Trail Creek and Sandy Creek are two drainage basins. So from a stormwater perspective, right, that's the idea, is we felt like that would probably be the easiest way to say is everything outside of Loop 10 that's within the Sandy Creek or Trail Creek basin would be served by this project. It's pretty broad, but yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Feel good?
Everybody good to keep going, or do we need a break? Everybody good? All right, yeah, we're good going. Go ahead, Peter.
Good evening. My name is Peter Norris. Appreciate you spending your evening here and at home. I am on the Prince Avenue user group advising the mayor and commission on the TSPLOST 2018 project, number 16. And I want to talk to you about a project within our corridor, but not within our means. We are looking, this project has the support of the other citizens that I'm working with, and also the Piedmont Athens Regional. I meet with them twice a year as part of our neighborhood association, and they have voice support and send me a letter of their support. What our project intends to do is to improve the intersection at Park and Talmadge. Talmadge is the street that comes up along the new hospital entrance. Park, obviously just across the street, it's the entrance to Authentic Brewery. The Prince Avenue user group, when it was formed sometime 2019, something like that. We looked through 7 different studies that had evaluated Prince Avenue and identified spots that needed improvement or improvements that needed to be along being made along the corridor. We ranked those suggestions with public input and financial feasibility. The cost of correcting the Park Talmadge intersection was not within our $4 million allocated for improvements and that TSPLOST. Next, please. So you can see here the current configuration. This is Prince, this is Talmadge here. What you don't see here is the big Tower Hospital, the new addition to the hospital, and this is Park Avenue here. This is Firehouse Subs, Subway, here's Authentic Brewing, a surface lot, and then down in here is the visitor parking deck for Talmadge. One of the things that you see here in this image is the left-hand turn that these people make going eastbound on Prince. Same for the people going westbound on Prince. One of the things also here, there's no crosswalk over here. And this is the crosswalk on this end of the intersection, but here's where the stop bar is for those vehicles. So that's almost 100 feet, or actually it's 107 feet, I think, to this. And what happens is that cars see the green light, they accelerate, and they don't see the pedestrians that are here on the crosswalk. And yes, next please. So what we're trying to do is to make it a more rectilinear intersection, okay? And that mostly comes by moving this part of Park Avenue. This ain't gonna move. Sure, so we can't fix that. And then we do a little bump out here for pedestrians with a little island. The benefit here is now we have a crosswalk on all four corners. Okay? Here's a bus stop here. So people wanting to access that bus stop have a crosswalk nearby them. There's always been a bus station here as well. That's never been really a problem for folks. And it does require this business, like I said, it's the Firehouse Subs. They're gonna lose 3 parking spots here. But they have they have additional parking back here behind the building. And this is an entryway into the parking lot, an additional entryway off of Prince into that parking lot. So as I've mentioned, this intersection has been transformed by a new tower at Piedmont Regional, which is now basically the front door to the hospital. Staff, patients, and visitors enter the hospital on Talmadge. Other recent changes, the Authentic Brewing is there. Daily Grocery has moved there. You know, right next to the Daily, there was nothing really there. There's a little mini restaurant mall there. And there's other businesses to the west, medical, and further to the west is the big node of what people consider downtown, normal town. This project aligns with ACC goals by improving safety and efficiency for all road users, not shortchanging our pedestrians and cyclists. I have often tried to make left turns over there, and I'm less fearless than other cyclists. I will just put myself in the way and figure, you know what, they don't need that big a mess on their car. It supports and promotes a healthy lifestyle, encouraging people to walk, to whatever business that they have nearby. Lots of staff will cross the street to go to lunch at Marty's at midday, at Barbaritos, to Daily to do their shopping or whatever. It aligns, so GDOT has got a project, it's been going on forever to improve pedestrian facilities along Prince Avenue. So it aligns with those improvements. And it also aligns with ACC's Complete Streets and Vision Zero initiatives. So that concludes my presentation and I welcome your questions. Yes, sir.
Okay, I want you to go back to the first picture where it has current configuration.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the bottom. The same. Okay, the bottom corner where you said there is no crosswalk.
So I meant over here, this crosswalk.
Okay, is there a stop sign there now? I mean, not a red light.
There is a red light here, yes, sir. And both of these lights, no, there are no left turn arrows, right? There's no left turn lane here.
Okay, because I see in the proposed configuration that there is a red light in the picture, so you answered my question.
Yes.
I've always thought there was a horrible irony that this dysfunctional intersection was in front of a hospital.
Right by the hospital.
Like for only, and the Talmadge intersection, we've only recently got a crosswalk sign. Like that for years didn't even have a crosswalk sign. And the number of people that walk across Prince from the hospital and go to Firehouse and Subway is key. So there's always no crossed intersection.
Yeah, and you know, to be honest, this project has been before the TSPLOST committee before. Even back then, they have the hospital has new ownership now. Even back then, they supported fixing this intersection. There's one parking deck here, and then there's another one further out here somewhere for staff and visitors. So there's go by at lunchtime, there are a lot of people crossing Prince Avenue.
It's kind of unfortunate that they built on that spot. So you can't that intersection now.
Yeah.
Would have been a net zero for them because they own both sides of that street.
Yeah. That's a whole different body. Yes, sir.
I heard you say that one business would lose 3 parking spaces.
So this is the Firehouse Subs. That's there. And here are the parking spots. Because if you'll see in the next, if you can slide to the next one, the roadway curves into there.
So that's where the land acquisition will come from?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's not sentiment. Right, that's a guesstimation, this campaign.
I'm not sure if the business there owns that facility. It's been multiple different businesses. And I believe Firehouse is a national chain.
Does, if we could go back to the current shot, yeah. So the crosswalk that goes from the hospital to Subway, is that one coordinated with the light system as well? Or is it you hit the button?
No, it does. There is a button. There is a push to cross button there. So it will change through the cycle, go through the cycle and stop traffic so that these patrons can cross Prince Avenue. And I can't remember right off if there's a delay on the pedestrian crossing so that at least the pedestrians are in the street before the cars start.
But it is coordinated.
It is coordinated with that, yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
So you have to wait through the traffic cycle to cross.
Get the next.
But when I've been in Firehouse, I bet you 60% of the people are nurses.
Yeah. No, the staff does crosses that street.
I think what complicates it too is that each of the other streets are on a different timing. So it's not that they cycle together. So you would stop Prince Avenue and then you would start the cycle with with Park and then it would start the cycle with College. So it's like having three different places.
That's true. That is correct, yes. And so an improvement, you would have more standard 2 cycles, really, right? Left turns from opposite directions and then through traffic.
Isabel's comment, one of Isabel's comments earlier, I think this might be an example where an existing project has kind of has led to this enough homework to bring a concept like this that has some homework, that has some information on it.
So this being the GDOT section of Prince Avenue, is there any GDOT helpfulness in this or?
They'll allow it to pay for it.
Yeah, that's basically it. They'll allow us to do something like that, yeah. Yeah, it's, from what I understand, it's not in their current plan of anything. Their plan has changed multiple times since I've seen it. They wanted to put medians along here, built out poured concrete medians. That seems to have been dropped from the plan, but GDOT doesn't share a whole lot, at least with what I see down at my level.
All right, any other last questions? Well, we have a second. All right, thank you, Mr. Norris.
I'm gonna get a glass of water and I'll do my next one.
Yep. Good. You want to take a quick 2-minute break, Giddy?
Oh, thank you, sir.
Got a take home with. Appreciate the apology.
You guys mentioned the staff note. Where do those go?
But I always have this.
The little.
Yeah. They're not with the attachment. Right. Well, let me
Go to the submissions. Which is. Said the bridge with his thing should come open.
Doesn't do, I'm not looking for bridge, I may not be saying that
This is always, this live file. It's always.
So one goes by.
And then, so you can.
I was.
Send it out there. And I've asked her to.
I guess I've just been looking at the attachment. Maybe I'm just not reading. Okay.
Go to the submission and then it'll be in the submission bill. Some.
But there's like the link with the other documents.
Yeah. with the-
Okay, I think I've seen that. It was weeks ago, so.
Yeah,
Now
no,
I'm
we've asked that
remembering.
they just put it in every Friday when we get it. It'll be
Like, I went in probably a month and a half ago and there were only like 4 folders.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
We gotta need to go there with my wife and appreciate that comment.
Yeah, they're dodging traffic. Yeah, I've had to go there all the time.
The orange is
Sadly.
right, and it's just like the one. I've ever seen.
All right, we'll get started in about 30 more seconds. Shot, it'll be right back. Yeah. All right, we can go ahead and get started on the next presentation.
Thank you. So this project, 61 Jefferson Road corridor improvements, again, comes out of my work on the Prince Avenue user group and living in the Normaltown area. We currently have a TSPLOST project, number 43, which goes from the county line to Sunset Drive. As y'all know, it's a major transportation corridor. People come and use it daily to come in for employment, to visit the hospital and or other medical facilities. As part of the project 43, 2023, 43, we did an analysis of the road of Jefferson Road. It's got an average of 2,200 vehicles per hour on the weekdays. Since 2018 to 2022, 777 crashes, one fatality there at Jefferson River Road. This level of incidents is greater than the GDOT average for a similar roadway. It is served by ACC Transit Route 7, but the bus doesn't stop anywhere along the corridor until you get to Jefferson River Road. There are sidewalks on the south side of the road, but they are discontinuous. So as construction occurs, sidewalks are put in. For instance, the Publix put in some sidewalks. When that got created, there's a storage facility, self-storage facility going up. That created some sidewalks. There are no bicycle facilities on this road, and frankly, I wouldn't ride it. And even with my fearlessness. So we have the projects that Jefferson Road and Prince Avenue got combined together in 2023. So Prince Avenue 2018 project 16 and Jefferson Road 2023 project number 43 basically are combined together with the same user group. It's the way administration decided to do it. So we're kind of looking at the whole corridor, but I want to address projects on Jefferson Road. We have identified, in the process of getting our long-range plan, we've identified 15 projects. We've been working with the on-call traffic engineers and designers to go those. Our list of projects and rankings are going to go before the mayor and commission this summer sometime for a preliminary approval of, yes, this is direction we want you guys to go. The total cost of those projects is $35 million. Rough numbers, very preliminary numbers. We got 6.2 million available for construction. So I'm not asking the TSPLOST committee to fund everything. I know this is a long-term project to fix up Jefferson Road. We're asking for some of the projects to be funded. So we want to enhance the safety for everybody on that road. As I've mentioned, it's mostly vehicles. Bicyclists will use, generally for recreation, they use Old Jefferson Road that runs parallel. We have a lot of heavy vehicles, tanker trucks. We've got Kinder Morgan refueling facility is out there. We want to improve the sidewalks, shared youth path, perhaps some bike facilities to support the ACC goals, Vision Zero, support healthy lifestyles. And so next slide, please. So these are some of the projects that are on the list. Improving intersections at Jefferson and Whitehead, Jefferson at River Road. We're thinking about right-in, right-out improvements on Kamek, Putters, and at Kinder Morgan. We need some work at Cathwood, Sunset Drive, and then there's also that came up. There's an opportunity for fiber optic preemption improvements there, so we don't have to dig up the road again. Our next slide, please. Yes. Our multimodal improvements. So we're really looking and working with ACC Transit to put some the bus route along Old Jefferson Road, so that because putting bus stops going out towards out of town on Jefferson Road really doesn't work because of the train tracks that are adjacent to that, and those are active tracks. So we're thinking, let's shift the bus over to Old Jefferson Road, put some bus stops there. It's quieter traffic-wise. They'll need some sidewalk improvements, obviously, to have the pedestrians not walking in the street. We'd like to put, there's a proposal for a multi-use trail along along Jefferson Road. Old Jefferson, depending on how that transit plan works out, it might have to be one way. That's kind of what the volume management is. Also in our list are a trail, multi-use trail at Whitehead, which would connect Jefferson Road over to Tallahassee Road, and then a normal town connector, which goes kind of along the golf course and connects into Chase Street, which would connect into the project that we saw earlier this evening. So Jefferson Road has, got that upgrade 15 years ago, I think, when GDOT came in, widened the road, resurfaced it, but they didn't put in any facilities for humans. The improvements were for cars. So we're hoping to reduce the traffic collisions that we have on there, provide access to transit, and to provide for personal mobility so that people get from their house to the bus. We know this area is growing. We've seen housing development. There's housing developments going up, new Publix. They see that. That's why they put their Publix there. So this is a corridor, I think, that we don't want it to let it get away from us. And we should continuously put money to improve. And that's why I'm coming back to you after we got approved, after the project got approved last session, to keep money flowing into this corridor. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so looking at this, just looking at the road, Old Jefferson Road is pretty much exactly parallel to it the whole way, pretty almost, except
Almost all the way to the county line, you're right, yes.
till the county line and from the loop. I mean, is there a path forward with utilizing Old Jefferson Road as the multi-use trail, like even like closing it off to car traffic, doing something like on Winterville Road where the Firefly Trail parallels Winterville Road?
Yeah.
Like they still have to deal with intersections with oncoming traffic and stuff like that, but having that like right parallel to the road works very well there, and I could see that working well here, and that would eliminate. I think that's 9.7 million for the multi-use trail on Jefferson Road, and then there's 10.25 million for the Old Jefferson Road sidewalk and transit soft. So, assumingly a considerable.
Yeah, can we go back to the slide with road improvements, please? Yeah. So I concur, it would be great, but so over here is a huge medical complex that its access is off of Jefferson River Road. There is somewhere in here, what used to be Beacon Storage, I can't remember what it is. This is Kinder Morgan. They use Old Jefferson Road to get to their facilities and fill up the trucks. And then there's a couple more businesses along Old Jefferson Road, obviously all on this side of the road because the train tracks between. We'd have to do something. We still have to have cars on Old Jefferson, I think, because of the businesses that are already there.
Well, even, I don't know if it's possible to do like one lane and bike lanes or something.
Yeah, and that's part of what that volume controls on Old Jefferson is to maybe make it one way and, so you get part bike lane, some sidewalk, we'd have to do some sidewalks on there, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, Jefferson, I'm sorry, go ahead. Morning.
Just curious if you could help me understand when you say roadway improvements, and I guess also like intersection improvements, like what does an improved intersection look like?
So, yeah, a signalized left turn lane. That's really one of the biggest number of accidents that have is people either going west or east on Jefferson Road and turning left into a business. There are two travel lanes in each direction. So it's like what Old Prince Avenue used to be. They would stop or in the travel lane to make their left-hand turn. And so there's lots of rear ending. And then if you have somebody stopped to make a right-hand turn, you pretty much close off the roadway. So the signalized left-hand turns, escape lanes, I'm not sure the right thing for a dedicated right turn lane.
Deceleration.
Thank you very much. Traffic lights, crosswalks. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say the two intersections, going into the country club and going down Jefferson River Road. Jefferson River Road is the main corridor going into Jackson County from the side. And those intersections right there, if you're trying to get out onto Jefferson River Road, either from the club or from the road, I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, there's no, Jefferson River, you got the stop bar, one space for one car. There's the railroad track. You got to keep back of that for the gates closing. You got Old Jefferson Road there, and a couple of businesses there. Yeah, it and then one of those things.
And then to top it all off, you got CSX, which at any given time Can jam up both those intersections.
That's right. Yep, I can close that whole thing, yeah.
You're not gonna fight CSX, so they're there.
Now, we're still hopeful. We're not fighting them. We want to work with them, you know. I don't know. I agree. It's complicated, but we have to keep moving on it. You know, something is gotta change. There's gonna be more development. There's more development out Jefferson River Road as well. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm looking at the figure of 11.5 million. And then I'm looking at the, how the projects were monetized. What is the 11.5 million dollars actually gonna go to?
So we haven't chosen which specific projects that those funds would go for.
All right, that's done.
Thank you. And we have a tool for questions to use.
Okay.
Any more you may have had to say, we'll get to you. And also, as we're reviewing things, we'll have questions and we'll get them to you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Norris. All right, that is all of our presentations. A couple of items, just briefly, very briefly. So next week, correct, we are going to do sort of a mock voting situation. I'll let Josh even explain a little more on that. But bring these. It's been useful for me to have it to go along with some of the submissions and things and looking for notes from staff. But we do need these when we vote. So let's bring them when we do our practice vote. And what we'll do is, not to take all Josh's information, but we're going to take some 2023. We're not going to vote on anything that we're doing. We're just going to learn how to do it by voting on some of the 2023 proposal. Get a feel for it. So when the day comes, the bat's in our hands and we're really at the plate, we'll still be asking all the same questions, because that's, you know, we'll forget everything, but maybe we'll keep 10% of it in our mind and we'll be more comfortable with how the voting goes, and we'll sort of see. So please bring your laptops. Is there anyone here? I know we filled out something, but everyone have a laptop they can bring?
If you don't, we have some spares in hand. Just let Melissa know that you don't have a device that will work, and we'll provide one for you.
Pads do not work.
Pads don't work.
Okay. Oh, thank you for saying that. That's important. So it has to be a laptop, correct? No phones, no iPads or pads of any sort. And but some people actually don't have laptops that they can bring. So if you do have one, please bring it so we're not using that up. And so that's the only announcements that I had. Do you want to jump in on any more specific?
If you'll remember, in your orientation, we kind of demonstrated how this little Excel file works, where you select the alternate, and it'll add up the values on each one of those projects up to the maximum value that we had. I really wanted you to get a chance to kind of use that even before now. But we will plan next Monday. I think there are only 2 project presentations planned, so it's a great time to spend some time doing that. And I think you'll feel more comfortable with what it is we're going to be doing over the next couple months. Once you see an iteration of that and see the product, once you individually do your sort of input and how it's aggregated, and then what we do after that's completed. So there will be a number of iterations, whittling that down and getting the project list down to something that we can bring to the mayor and commission. This won't be the last time. We'll do more iterations, but I just wanted to get that in front of you as kind of rehearsal.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yes.
At the very beginning, you gave us a document that showed out of the 140 million for the county commissions, and it was split up. It was like a certain percentage was transit, a certain percentage was road repair. Do they have specific projects they've already picked for those categories? Or are they overlapping with the projects that we're seeing? So, for example, some of the things we've had 2 or 3 projects that are transit oriented. Are those possibly coming out of their 140 or the projects that we're seeing what was left over after they pick their projects?
You know, there.
No, please, you.
So there might be, I'm not saying there isn't, but keep in mind the pre-designated categories. If you look at the rest of that title, it's countywide sustainment. Right, so the intent there was number one, what do we already have? And taking that, whether that's resurfacing or even transit services, it's just doing the routes that we have with the infrastructure that we have with the bus network. No expansion, no, well, there was some new for replacement of old buses, and not expansion of the fleet, for example. So what I would expect you to see in these submissions is there are new things, or it's intended to be outside of sustainment of what we already. Even, for example, like we just heard about some stormwater issues, well, stormwater is in the pre-designated list, or the pre-designated list only handles, failed or critical, existing culverts. So it wouldn't handle, while on its face, it might look like one the same. It won't. This pre-designated list only handles things.
So they have.
Prepared, right, and talk about something that is also stormwater, but not included.
So none of the projects that we heard from are included in that list. Is
Uh,
there a way that we could have an asterisk put on the ones that are included?
I will try. I haven't heard of a specific instance where there's overlap.
You know, Josh, you gave us this one sheet. I don't know if everybody got that, which was very helpful. It was everything that was in the 140 million that the mayor and commissioner. But it was lumped into like, 54 million for road pavement.
Right, that's the piece of paper I'm talking about.
Huh?
That's the one that I was talking about.
All right, here, I got your copy.
Well, but I think you were asking, are any,
Yeah.
will that list find any of the stuff that you've seen? Fair question.
Yeah, I have that, but that was what made me wonder about what we were.
Yeah.
So would Josh, would they even have at this point what they're gonna pay or what?
Yes.
So
They have a system for developing with roads and get resurfaced.
Okay.
In other words,
so the numbers actually are
Yeah,
coming
the
from some.
resurfacing, I think, because we haven't really had, a little bit, but not much of a request for that, as much as some of the other transit, some of the other.
So improvements to bus stops, no, is not in here. That's the one that you're asking about.
I was thinking more traffic lights, stop signs, right, that's maintenance. Like,
No, those specifically were not in.
Okay.
And even the bridge, so you see a line in here for bridge repair and maintenance. That is genuinely for just repair and maintenance. So you see bridge, Daniels, North Avenue, Daniels Road. That's not what that is.
I mean, if there's not any overlap, I just want to know if there was.
Yeah, it's a fair question. And I'm not saying there's not, but, the intent was for the one to be just keeping up with what we got and the other to be the new or expansion.
And the projects we've been seeing seem to be primarily new things, whether it's a new crosswalk, not a repair of a crosswalk. So new seems to be the right sort of the. I didn't.
The exceptions being, early on, we heard transportation and public work bring, replacement of the intersection hardware. That's not the pre-designated list, but it's also not necessarily new. That's the whole stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Can somebody, this was the second Jefferson Road improvement intersections that we've seen. Is there a way before we start voting or whatever to kind of consolidate. You know, it was on that Cathwood, the night that they did the Cathwood improvements. They went to the Jefferson Road improvements that he just talked about.
So I wouldn't use the word consolidate, but there is a map that's being developed that will show, geographically where each of these submissions are. So if we're looking at, maybe there are ones that are similar or overlap spatially, you'll be able to see. That'll be listed on the website.
Well, and then I think when you start talking about Jefferson Road improvements, I mean, I know you're dealing with the railroad, you're dealing with GDOT, you're dealing with the heavy constricted stuff that you can do. The same thing on the 441.
Yep.
Traffic signalizations. And I was looking at that, just thinking, I mean, they have the multi-use path coming up from up there where they were talking about putting the traffic signal. It looked to me like they were going to run it the same thing, that it could run down the side of the road without having to cross the road and connect up with the Bowley Drive deal. This where the path was coming there, it would have to cross the swamp. I don't know if you're familiar where Cook's Trail used to be or whatever is or whatever, where they were taking it up to cross the bridge, under the bridge, they said. So, I mean, it looked to me like it would be a whole lot more efficient. I won't say cheaper, efficient to just run it down on that side of the road. And that's the side of the road where, all the residential is.
Yeah.
I mean, on the other side of the road, there's very little residential.
Right.
On going north. So, I mean, it drew a pretty picture, but I mean, when you start talking about adding signalizations across the state highway, I mean, to get that approved they could do it cheaper running it.
So on that one, I'd say that's a good comment to send in on the web so that they can build that into an alternate. Take that commentary and build it.
Yeah.
Potentially, I don't know.
I mean, and they may come up with a reason why they shouldn't do it that way, but I mean, they could build concrete and then do like the Cook's Trailer used to do when it went through the swamp, build that part wood, and then join it up at the bridge down there. It just looked like a easier deal.
Submit that, if you don't mind, submit that comment through the little.
I'll to the portal.
Okay. I don't know what to call it. Portal, that's a good.
Yeah. Good word.
Yeah, with regards to your first point, like I agree a lot with the consolidation aspect. And if we're not able to directly consolidate projects, I think if it's not already accounted for or planned, it'd be nice to have some discussion time before we vote, because there are a lot of things that, for example, bus stops. We've had like 5 projects that have put forward proposals for bus stops, right? And if there are some projects that we can, say, okay, like these will cover for these other projects, these we can discuss and say like, okay, we want more bus stops. What are we going to do in terms of that? Because I think if we're all voting blind and there's 4 different projects that propose updating traffic signals in some form, or anything else, right? It could be very well that we all, or many of us, support a common interest or a common idea, but the specific project, because there's so many specific projects, the voting ends up getting lost. So I would love to have some discussion time so that we can.
Yeah, Isabel, I agree with you, because we've heard from a multitude of separate neighborhood groups. 5 Points, Prince Avenue, Normaltown, Jefferson Quarter, and they all have it seems like they all have a common component in them that I don't think that the city is looking at or like, let's say there's 20 stoplights proposed in 8 neighborhood areas. I don't think they're looking at it as a stoplight project. You follow me? I think they're looking at it as a individual project with many different components inside of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Josh and I have talked about, we're gonna have some time for this as after our last presentations. And how many more than that right now?
Yeah, there's nothing.
So we're,
It's only two.
Is that
yeah,
it?
just, I mean, all of a sudden I was like, are we done? But no, we've got a couple more. But we do want to go back and bring it in. We were talking about how to do this but yeah, we will spend time talking about it, and we'll talk about how we do it. Probably, I mean, the way I kind of like to do things, jump in and then see how we like to do on the first side, and then try to bring some order to it in a sense. I mean, it'll be per project, but crossover things like.
Based on the schedule, Alex, based on the schedule, the Monday that we hear the 71st project, how many more Mondays do we have before we have to commit?
Well, we're down to 60 projects, so.
We got 11 more to hear.
Yeah, how many more?
So this is-
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard you say.
60 projects altogether now.
Yeah.
Oh, not 71.
Yeah, so we're down, I'm sorry, we're down, I mean, 71 is down to 60.
Oh, okay.
So, we only have 60 total projects, so 2 more next week, and that's why we have some time to do some computer work to learn a little bit more about how to vote. Then we'll pretty much jump right on into review and a few other deals like that.
So you're saying next week after the 2, that's the 60?
That's all the presentations, yes.
Okay, you said go to the site to see presentations. Where do I go?
It's on the calendar link, and so where we send the agenda each week, it's on there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the email that comes typically from you, right?
Liz.
Okay, yeah, or it's either or, but when it has the agenda and all of that, they now put the links to when you have the questions or for the live file. And you go to the live file and whatever it's called, presentations and submissions, I think. Click on that, sends you to that file, and you can pull everything up that way. And on that note, I will continue to encourage, don't just look at the presentations, because they may not match the submissions. And the submissions are what has legally been given. And that's where you get the staff notes too, which are helpful. A lot of times it's just, things you might have already thought of. Other times, there's no way you would have thought of that. And that's pretty helpful.
But if you have trouble accessing it, just let me know. I mean, call the office. We'll help.
Yeah, the office is always very quick, phone call, or when I email, I get an email right back. So it's very efficient. So we're getting close to.
Since you're on the planning commission, like that deal where he's gonna take out 3 parking places. And that is a franchise that is owned by the Tordell family. That corner, that is owned by the Tordells, and the building is probably on a long-term lease. I mean, when you start taking away parking from a business and the business is required to have so many parking places, who makes that call?
Comes a challenge, but ultimately Mayor Commission.
Okay. I mean, so if we were to approve that project and then they went in and said, okay, the mayor and commission said, well, we don't want to start getting into the giving up, cutting out parking places for businesses that we wouldn't allow them to do if they didn't have those 3 parking places, that business would have never been allowed to be there.
That's right. So I think.
You see what I'm saying?
I do, absolutely. And I think what I'd say is, at least for this group here, the mayor and commission is looking from us, from this group, what projects you like, what projects you don't like. Whether, there might be some details in there that have to get worked out later. And then, so that's number one, is we're not approving, we're just making a recommendation to them on what we like. And then 2 is, Typically, once this project list gets to the mayor and commission, we start getting, drafting project statements in a very specific way. And it allows that sort of flexibility, knowing that that might be the circumstance in the future that we've got, we just need to build in flexibility with these projects on how to improve that intersection right there. Certainly, the details in the submission will matter. But we know that, I mean, that comes up all the time, both for planning and for construction projects. But project statements are drafted in a way that allows us to deal with that if that's a project that they also like, if that's one they also want to fund. Did that answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's kind of, when I saw that, I was like, oh goodness.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. Give somebody, give us 3 parking spaces.
easier project.
Exactly that. And then again, the requirements, NCC to have a certain amount, all added. But you're saying that's not our problem.
That's not our problem.
And we're actually not to consider that as a.
If you like it, if you think that's important, and that makes your top 10 list or whatever, then put it on.
Too, we're being asked to suggest 150% of what's been allocated to us. So there's some wiggle room for them to say, no, not that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like that either.
We go to 150 and then we go to 100.
Yeah, there is another step.
Our final recommendation will be 100%.
Oh, okay.
So they'll bounce back the 150 and Jim will play with that.
Okay.
And then we gotta just change it all up and send it home brand new.
So our 100,
As an
we vote to get to 150 and then send it to the mayor and commission. Mayor and commission gives us their feedback and then we bring it down to 100.
They won't tell us, they'll just feedback us, right?
Session format. So that's a great point. So to give you a little bit of visibility on the next few months, yes, that there's kind of a standard process for getting us to the point where we deliver a potential project list, which is 150% of the money that we've been assigned to the mayor and commission in a work session forum. So we're asking for their feedback on the list that we produced. Hey, why this? And, potentially to better understand kind of what they're looking for. We'll bring that back to this group, complete group, and that will help us to whittle it down from 150 to final budget. Now, the potential project list, I'm hoping we'll be able to deliver to them mid-July, which means we'll have July, August, maybe into September to get it down to 100%. And in September, we're bringing them that candidate project list for them to accept as recommendation.
Is the feedback we get from them some of it come to consensus, or is it each individual commission?
I mean, all sorts of feedback, It's hurtful, it's however, I don't, probably wouldn't expect a whole lot of consensus. But any feedback's good.
But they don't have a meeting where they sit down and look at what we said and give us a one pager back. We're gonna get it.
Yeah, and when that meeting with them, I'll be there as I understand.
Yes.
Basically telling them about us, what we've done, our thoughts,
Process.
how the process went. I'm not gonna be pitching every one of these. That's a lot. But so they're not gonna say, well, tell me when that takes a right, what exactly and all that. I am not expected to know all of that, so y'all can rest at ease. That I'm not gonna blow it all to heck, but I will be representing what we've done, how we've done it, and do that and be there. And then they'll sort of take it from there, and then the feedback comes back to us in general. So, okay, anything else for the evening?
I think everybody's ready to go home. We're all
Yeah,
packed up.
Thank you. Almost stick around.
Motion to
Okay, motion to adjourn.